It's recorded, right?
It will. I'm practicing on you guys. See if I can get through it without asking any questions.
Okay.
Good.
Close it here.
Close that, yeah.
Okay. And then
Okay.
go back here. And the camera
Start
back
the
on.
cameras on.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our Parks and Rec meeting for 5:45 p.m. on this Wednesday, August the 4th, 2021. Let's have a roll call, please.
Jim Ghost,
Here.
Cindy Cooper. Here. Dave Martin,
Here.
3 present.
Thank you. First item is minutes. Looking for an approval for our July 7th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Martin,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cooper. Roll call, please.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Jim Ghost,
Yes.
3 days.
Okay, visitors. Looking for visitors. Looks pretty empty out there. All right, no visitors. Let's move on to new and old business. I think the number one thing on our list tonight, we have Mr. Steve Piles here to talk a little bit about the Trail Towns initiative. Steve, you want to go ahead?
Sure, thanks. In your dais packet, there was a PowerPoint from Morpsey called Central Ohio Greenways Trail Towns. I would actually flip to about the 5th page on that. It's titled Trail Town Route, Ohio to Erie Trail.
Mm-hmm.
That shows you kind of the participating communities. You've got London down there on the bottom left. Well, I'll wait till you get there.
What does it look like?
It's a map. It's actually the 5th page in, the 10th actual page. I
You
should-
got it.
10th actual.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see it.
So you've got London down at the bottom, then comes around through Columbus, and then you hit a community. Then you hit Galena and Sunbury, and then up through Mount Vernon and on to Gambier. But those are the participating communities. About 2 months ago, Morpsey sent an email and said, hey, we're preparing a foundation grant through the Columbus Foundation to try to get some money to engage a consultant to look at these red marked trail towns and work on some issues related to their, making them more effective, giving them a presence. So if you flip the next page, it talks about the scope of part 1 of their foundation grant. And it's to do a localized case study for each of the communities. They're going to look at wayfinding, which is important to us. We want to have people know that while they're transiting through Sunbury, within 2 blocks, there's an amazing downtown area and there's services there and food and donuts and not too far away, ice cream and all those kind of things that bikers like to refuel with. So they'll actually come to the community, look at the infrastructure that we have. They'll do some interviews. They'll develop some strategies based upon each of the case studies. And then from those case studies, they'll get a guidebook together so that we have some consistency in the brand of the Ohio Erie Trail as it comes through. The signs will look the same. They'll have some of that same content. So as people stop in Galena and they see that sign, they'll see the same type of sign, but with different content in Sunbury. So it'll just kind of allow that flow and informing people that are on the trail what's available in each one of these small communities along the trail. The other thing that they hope to do is to create a guidebook for us that would have, again, recommendations on a cohesive brand for the area, recommendations on wayfinding, how that might look. It'll have tips about infrastructure. You know, they may come through and say, Sunbury, it'd be really great if you had restrooms, or Sunbury, you know, can you have a water source close to the trail, things like that. And again, the notion is that if you've been to an effective trail town, there are a lot of people passing through it as bicycle tourists. That's kind of that magic money that comes from outside your community into your community. It's one of the greatest kind of economic kind of benefits you can have. So that's really their goal. And then, let me see, I'm flipping the wrong direction. I wanted to also, they kind of give a time frame of what they hope to do. They're scoping the project right now. Later here, they'll be getting out the request for proposals for some consultants. It's actually a niche type of consulting. There's some people that have published books about trail towns. They've studied the Great Allegheny Trail. It's an outstanding economic driver in that area. And then they'll go through till probably the spring or summer with getting the study done, the case books done, and then reporting out what their recommendations to each community would be. And the following page, it shows just the number of people that they've already assembled as participants and supporters and stakeholders in this. Columbus Foundation, they've landed $20,000 from them. I think the Ohio to Erie Trail Board is going to contribute some money. Rails to Trails also expressed some interest. They're working on Knox County. Preservation Parks, you know, obviously they're one of our key partners in this trail, so they're involved, which was really important to Sunbury. And then there's an east-west trail called the Cocosin Gap Trail, and Knox County's kind of heard of this and they want to get on board with it too, and providing more destinations is not a bad thing. And then it lists those couple, you know, 5 or 6 communities that they've identified along the Ohio Erie Trail that they would like to help with their capacity to become a trail town. On tonight's agenda, there's a resolution to provide $2,000 to this effort to assure that we get that local time with a consultant to, you know, really dive into Sunbury, figure out what we've got, you know, our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats in terms of a trail town, and help us work through those issues. And so hopefully you will be in support of that tonight. Told Morpsey that we would put it in front of council to see their appetite for participation, but I think it's a positive development. So, you know, answer any questions you might have about it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Very nice presentation. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I think for $2,000, it's money well spent, especially considering we're going to get some kind of a guidebook, a map with recommendations on infrastructure and wayfinding, and, you know, where to put restrooms and water fountains and things like that, and signage, and how we want the signage to look and feel. And so it's all consistent along the entire trail from Cincy to Cleveland. So, you know, it's going to boost economic vitality, and the tourism traffic will be here. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion for $2,000. How do you guys feel?
Agreed.
Very much so.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Piles? If we approve that tonight in council, Steve,
Mhm.
What's the next step? What will you do?
The next step I will do is tomorrow I'll send them an email and say Sunbury's in for $2,000. And the next meeting is we had an initial kickoff meeting where we talked about the scope of the study and kind of identifying any other partners that we need to bring into the process. And so there's going to be another meeting probably fairly early, well, not fairly early. There'll be another meeting in August so that they can stay on their time frame to refine that scope of what they're going to put out to the consultants to say, you know, we want some advice and your time, and these are the scope of what we're looking for you to study and help us with. So
It sounds like on the project timeline too, they could start contacting us for interviews and things like that within 30 or 60 days, right?
yeah, once, you know, they'll put the requests out, probably a couple weeks to get those back, a couple weeks to select someone. And so I would say probably there's a decent chance in September or very early October that they'll be getting out and doing the work.
I think I'd like to have their rep. They're going to come here to our area. Somebody, I guess, is going to have to interview, right?
Sure.
Maybe we can schedule them around the next Parks meeting, 1st of September.
Okay, I'll see if that works in there.
And we have a first reading on that resolution tonight, so, but it needs to pass with emergency
If you
language.
could, yeah, they want them,
Yeah.
they want to get their
do 2 or 3
commitments by
readings.
August 6th so that they
Right.
know going
Okay.
into putting out that RFP, how much money
Yeah,
they've got to work with. Let's see what else is going on.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
And I offered town hall as a meeting place for them, given that we're kind of central to
yeah.
some of the folks from Knox and some of the people coming up from the Columbus area. So,
Sounds good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can walk them right down the street there and
yeah.
show them the trail. Okay, thank you. Let's go on to, we're gonna have Brad here, but he's gone. He's taking some time off, I believe. But I want to talk a little bit further about the volunteer thing to do list. Cindy's been doing really well with that, trying to push this along. We still have to get with Brad, and I think we're going to coordinate a little bit more and talk with you, Steve, about this.
Mhm.
What we want to do is we have these volunteers, of course, that call us and inquire about wanting to help certain groups, you know, church group or whatever. And we don't really have a specific list of things that we can say, okay, well, here's 3 things we need to have done. So we'd like for you to get with Brad on that
Okay. Yeah.
and let Cindy know, let me know, and Dave know, you know, a date and time where you might be meeting with him or talking to him about it. One of us I think one of us would like to be there.
Sure.
Let's plan on that.
And our deliverable at the next meeting will be that list. How's
Okay.
that sound?
Yeah, that'd be great. And in the interim, if you need to talk to any of us, just give us a shout. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Understood.
All right, Buckeye Memorial Tree for Len Weatherby. I talked to Scott again recently. He said he had interest in attending tonight's council meeting. Not sure if he's going to be here or not, but if he is, he's going to ask for a Buckeye tree to be planted out here on the square. We already have one out here. It's right over here by the gazebo. Technically, it's on I have a list here from March 1st, 2011, list of trees not approved for park tree use. There is a specific it's just a specific Buckeye tree. There's 3 species, I believe, and this one says has an asterisk here, which means with village approval. So he wants to ask council for an exception to plant that tree. So I did some background checking, talked to Brad, and I talked to Aaron Noblet, looked at the tree out there. I don't really see any issues with it. Brad and Aaron didn't have any issues with it. So I think if he comes to us with that request, I'm going to recommend that we accept it. And we try to find one that's blossoming. We want to have the blooms in the spring, preferably red. There is one out there like that. But I think the most important thing is that Aaron and Brad really didn't have any issue with the one out here for the most part. And if there is some kind of issue with maintenance, a little bit more maintenance or trouble, I think it's worth it in light of what the kind of service and length of service that Lynn had for the village. So that's going to be my position on it. Don't know how you guys feel about it, but we will have to have council approve it. Sound good? Okay.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a Buckeye tree in the first place
Did you? Well, I think
because I knew how big of a Buckeye fan he was.
yeah, he's a big one. I think he'll be looking down on that. If we can make it happen for him, he'll be looking down on that and appreciating it. So, all right. That's all for that. What else do we have here? Okay. Youth football, J.R. Smith. Let me grab my notes there. So I met with last week, Chad Zipfel. He is on the Big Walnut Youth Football Board. Met with Brad and Alan over here at J.R. Smith. Trying to get a feel for what needs to be done out there, number one, in terms of maintenance and upkeep and who's responsible for that. But before we talked about that, we had to get our head around, can we allow them back in here in the fall to do their flag football? And Brad, of course, had no issue with that. Alan, of course, no issue with that. So they had already previously said okay a few weeks ago. So that's okay. And they asked about a food truck, one food truck to bring in for the football Saturdays. And
As opposed to using the concession stand that's in the Lions building.
yeah, they were kind of weighing that back and forth.
Okay.
I don't think they've made their decision yet,
Right.
but they wanted to ask us first if they decided on the food truck, if that would be okay. And Alan said, yeah, there's no issue with that as long as the food truck folks are meeting all the health
Right.
recs. So that will probably happen unless there's any objection here. They have already basically approved it, but we could say no if we wanted to, but I don't see any reason to do that.
That's what they want to do.
Yeah. So then we came up, actually, the thing we talked about next was the Lions building and the football. Well, the other building, the Lions building and the concession building, there's two buildings out there, mostly stored with football stuff. And of course, you know, in years past, well, up until this point, we've never charged them for the use and never really asked them to do anything with it or maintain it to a certain threshold.
Is the Lions building village property?
Yes, the village owns both of those buildings, as I understand it. And we have the keys. Apparently, there's a lot of keys floating around out there in other people's hands. That was the other thing I got to write down. We talked about changing the locks and possibly putting in one of those
Keypads.
keypads.
Okay.
That way, you know, the locks aren't all over the place. I mean, the keys aren't out there all over the place. So, bottom line is, the takeaway from that was I would circle back with Silas Bowers, Big Walnut Youth Board member. You know, he was in here last month.
Right.
And Chad, and have a meeting with them to try to see what they might be willing to do in terms of helping with maintenance costs, getting the locks changed, and that kind of thing. Chad seemed really amenable to helping and contributing financially.
And back when I was village administrator, the football people did all the mowing down there and everything because they didn't like the way the village mowed it. They wanted a certain length for each football game, and the kids, you know, they have the right grass to be playing football on, so they took care of all that stuff themselves.
Yeah,
Very much with our approval and agreement, but they were always easy to get along with, so.
yeah, now Brad does the mowing, but the football folks do the striping and the preparing and the prepping of the field for the game days and the trash pickup and hauling away. Oh, and the scoreboard, that was the other item they talked about. It really looks bad right now.
Yeah.
It's in disrepair. So we talked to, and asked Chad if his group would be willing to tidy that up a little bit. And the one thing that he said, yes, pretty enthusiastically, they're going to come up with a really nice banner that covers the bottom half of the scoreboard, where you have outdated businesses that are listed there, and it just looks terrible. So they're going to dress that up with a nice banner and have that covered. And they're going to do some painting up above. Repaint what's already there. I think it says BWYAA or something. So that's going to get dressed up. And I asked them if they would put a coat of paint on the legs of the scoreboard. So they were in bad shape. So
What kind of condition are the bleachers in?
that's a good question. I didn't get over there to look at them.
Because that would be the one thing, if somebody, since we own it, if somebody were to fall or get hurt on those bleachers because of the condition they're in, we would be liable for that.
Yeah.
Even though it's their event at their, you know, where they're doing it. If we own it, we would be liable for that. So that might be something we want to look at, make sure that the bleachers are suitable for people to be on.
I
Yeah.
know currently, and I don't know why, but the one set is currently flipped the wrong way. Did you notice that when you were down there? It's so that the bleachers are looking at the woods,
Oh,
not looking at
on the other
field.
side there, the
Yeah, not the side of
visitors
Cherry
section.
Street, but the other side. They're all flipped. They're flipped.
That might have been because there was something wrong with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, because
I
it's
don't
been a condition situation for years. But it might be there was something wrong with them. They didn't think they stood up to what they need to for people, the whole people to be watching a football game. So, and that might be a good question for the health department. I don't know if would they come out and look at that and make recommendations?
What little bit I've done with bleachers before, one, we could ask our insurance company and they'd probably go, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
There are, you know, companies, I can probably find the current design standards, because nowadays they put a down area on them so kids can't slip between them, and there's,
right.
yeah, they're probably not current to code. They may be, but
Yeah. And I know that some of that stuff, since we own it, we would be liable if there was a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
What do you suggest we do, Steve, to have that checked out?
let me start with Brad, just looking at them, and then we'll see if we need to elevate it through. And
and there's a company in town called Buckeye Bleacher Repair that would be willing to give you some recommendations and an estimate, I'm sure of that.
Maybe we have them, after you look at it with Brad, Steve, maybe we invite that vendor out if we feel like something really needs to be done.
yeah, I think they might be a really good source for just, you know, obviously it's their business, but at the same time, they'll know, you know, kind of what the design criteria is right
And
now.
what requirements there are that they have to meet and everything, yeah.
Mhm.
Be a good idea. Have them
That's a
out,
very good point.
have them out with you and maybe ask them for an estimate.
Mhm.
And then we can decide if we want to use them or maybe we do it
Their
ourselves, something
business
like that.
used to be right next door to mine, so that's.
So it's on the top of your head.
Okay.
Never heard of them.
also with regard to those buildings, you know, the Lions Club's been using that for a long time. And I thought about you, Cindy. Do you know someone there? Do you have a contact there?
Is it Marla? No, was it Marla Evans?
But Don
Someone.
Evans was always real involved with the Lions, and so
Was it the
Marla would
Lions
be
or
also,
the,
Marla would be very involved with the Lions.
But do you know,
yeah,
Steve,
Lions, Sunbury Lions Club, Marla Evans?
has that group been active over there doing anything? We weren't sure.
I don't think they have. They've got a lot of equipment stored in there, but I don't.
They're not doing any activities locally anymore. They've merged with some other Lions group over north of Delaware there.
Okay,
And
this would be,
so, yeah, they're not meeting here regularly or anything now.
okay.
So,
Maybe Marla's the contact there. We can tell her, hey, look, we're thinking
and
about,
Rick Iman would be the other
Thinking about
person to get in touch with, Rick Iman. EYMAN.
okay. I think what I'll do first, I'm gonna circle back with Silas and Chad and see if we can set a meeting up for sometime next week.
Rick Iman is the
Or I
one
can
that
get-
takes the line square for the markers and stuff.
And we're gonna go ahead and meet over there and with the focus being on those two buildings. Just to kind of start a conversation and see what they might be willing to do.
They're the ones that are using it predominantly.
They're the ones who've been using it primarily over the
Okay.
years. And then when I can get in there and see what's going on
Well, it's
upstairs.
interesting because they haven't been using it. The other football league had been using it that no longer exists. So this is a very good time to be
Yeah.
talking about changes because
And
are we just grandfathering this new league into the league that was here for 40 years, or are we gonna set some new precedents? So it's a great time to, and it sounds like just from listening to some historic stuff here, that we need to develop a working relationship with that league and keep it on a regular basis so that
Yeah.
everyone in Parks and Rec and in the board is aware of who's responsible for what, who's paying for what, and we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to figure out how best to monetize those two buildings. Those are major assets.
Yeah, and right now, no one's using
So
them.
windows were busted out and boarded up over there that Brad had done
Oh, there's
recently.
profanity. I don't know who's responsible for that, though. Drawn on that side of that Lions, building. My girlfriend and I live near-ish there, and we walk to J.R. Smith Park almost every night. So but the profanity is pretty graphic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to have that on the maintenance schedule and Brad's so busy, but that is one item we got to get caught up to speed with is fixing that and deciding what we're going to do with it. So anyway, I'll plan on meeting with Silas and or Chad sometime next week at the buildings, kind of break the ice and see what they might be willing to do.
CC us on those emails.
Yes, and I'll get we'll talk about, I wonder what the pricing is. Any idea on the locks?
Oh,
For a home, they're like
$1,000.
$100. I don't
Yeah,
know what
that's
it
what I
would
was
be for a
thinking, probably
building.
a couple hundred to get a good commercial quality one.
Per door, right? Okay,
We may have to rekey the doors, but maybe we just make one of them accessible through the keypad, and then we control the keys on the other ones.
okay. Checking my notes on that, see if I missed anything. Yeah, we'll reach out to the Lions Club folks once I meet with Silas and Chad and see what they might be thinking about. Maybe we can get a little agreement with them first, and then we can go over the
I think
lines.
we're one of the first groups to reach out in like 2020 about volunteering.
Chad was real excited and enthusiastic about contributing
Great,
in some way, shape, or form, financially and labor.
great. Well, yeah, this is a good timing to be having these conversations.
Yeah.
Is the graffiti on the brick building or on the the other building?
It's on the concession stand building.
Okay.
think
If you
about-
go up there, you're gonna see it, Steve. You're not
Okay.
gonna miss it.
It's everywhere.
I'm just trying to figure out, brick's a little bit harder
Yeah,
to take care of. But we
I don't,
should be able
I don't remember. I have to, run to the library real quick after this meeting before council, so I can just drive by real quick and take a look.
Okay.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you're close enough for a picture too.
Yeah, I will. Sure, no problem.
Okay,
Repainting the building might be on that list of volunteer.
yeah, there you go.
It's pretty graphic, but yeah,
Maybe that's item number
it's
one.
gonna need done.
We can
Yeah,
get over those and then they can fill in the
Yeah,
gaps.
I
or
think that would
something.
be better, especially if you're doing a church.
Okay. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, let's do that. Shoot him a couple pictures,
Yeah.
copy us in,
Well,
and I'll circle back next week with Silas and Chad. Okay, I think that's all I had. You guys have anything else? It's 6:20.
is that clock off?
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Then we should wrap it up because services is gonna be coming.
Yeah. Okay, motion for adjournment, anyone?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Cooper. I'll second. Mr. Martin will second. Roll call.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Jay Martin.
Yes.
Yes,
Jay.
adjourned.
Thanks for going to that meeting too.
Sure.
It was the same time as an appointment I had already had scheduled, so I really appreciate the feedback from that meeting.
It was great. Chad
like
was
that.
just super cooperative and enthusiastic.
I'm gonna run to that park and run through the library drive-through real quick and I'll be back for
It'd
council.
be quicker if you drive though.
Well, maybe I'll do that.
Set this room.